the incredible or massive task or mission or purpose many Indigo and Chrystal adults, specifically men, are currently dealing with. Their type of spirituality, the spiritual work, figuring out their masculine place in this world, is pretty much daunting and challenging, but just thinking about it. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to reflect on that, because as a man myself, opening up my heart and spirituality and sharing this type of things, while of course still dealing with everything that everybody is currently dealing with in this world, societal conditioning, and free our mind and ego from this system that we are all plugged into, and still trying to develop yourself spiritually with a vision perhaps you might be holding as well for yourself, for your future. Well, where you're currently at, it feels still like you're like a gazillion miles away from that vision. So if that is you, if you can relate to that, then yeah, keep watching. And particularly even if you're a lady watching this, we are really talking about the masculine energy. The masculine energy that has been actually very toxic for a few hundred or even a few thousands of years, dominating this planet. And both men and women have of course this energy, but particularly more men are having probably more of this type of energy. Now you also of course have loads of men within the spiritual development field who have a little bit more feminine energy than masculine energy, so perhaps they are dealing with different challenges. So this is more when you consider yourself like a normal, pretty healthy masculine man, well, you're of course opening up to the spiritual path. So at the moment it's a very beautiful winter morning out here in the southeast of England, in the hills of Kent, which is the county, and it has been quite frosty this morning. The sunlight is pretty low. We see here on the grass on the hills, it has been frozen like -5 degrees below Celsius. So I absolutely love and adore this season of the year, the winter, as I was born in winter in February. As you might know, I'm a Pisces, so yeah, I'm absolutely right now in my element, and that's really where I like to take the time to take a step back and reflect on the things that normally we don't really reflect on, but actually we should be. So healing the masculine wound, that's really what this is about, the masculine wound. So when you are in this spiritual development field, you are opening up to also to the history of mankind, of humanity, the history and the energy that has been on this planet. So you also kind of find relationships in your direct ancestral lineage, and perhaps even your indirect ancestral lineage. For example, my direct lineage, if I take my surname, I mean, I've covered this already quite a few times on this channel, and I feel that this is actually a major topic that I might be developing a little bit more of, because when we are researching the whole history and the fields of power, control, dominance, manipulation, the gaslighting that has been going on, where we have been ripping the truth from other people away from them, where we have enslaved others, we have slaughtered and raped other civilizations in order to gain power and control over what's currently going on. As I am a North European, as I am from the Netherlands originally, the Netherlands also had a pretty dark history with building their initial empire. The empire of the East Indies and also parts in the West Indies. I made a video about it, about living on a life path number 9, and where I figured that my surname was actually connected to a merchant trader during the time who was working in the time in the 7th century in the East Indies, but later on established trading routes between West Africa, South America, but also he was part in helping to colonize Sweden in the areas of Delaware. Now, if you go back to this time, the areas of Delaware and such, the colonies that were there from the Europeans, you will go back in the time of the Native Americans. Now, Native Americans, they don't really see themselves as Indians or Native Americans. It is like, that is what we as white North European has given them that name. They didn't really have any kind of identification for themselves. It was more like Columbus was lost and he set foot on North America and he found the tribes there and he called them, oh, I think I might be in the East Indies, I'm called them Indians. However, I don't want to spend a whole video on this whole history, but we are pretty much sure, of course, what happened. Now, when we look at that, when we look at our ancestral lineage, for me personally, it's of course related to, you know, to a part of the colonization that Europeans has been done on this planet, but our indirect lineage, our indirect ancestors, they were of course the tribes that were before all these colonizations, that thought that their modern ways of religion and capitalism should be the way forward in order to progress. Now, we now know where we are currently at, and many of us who are on the spiritual path are realizing, wait a minute, this is simply not the way forward if we really want to have a higher level of consciousness on this planet. So then of course, like, you go back to where it all started and how the people were living before that all happened, and we could see from many different tribes around the planet, even Northern Europeans or even the civilizations in South America or North America, they didn't have any kind of religion, but they were seeing that everything was simply connected. The nature, the land, they were part of it. The nature, the land, that was the Great Spirit, that was their gods basically. There was no imaginal gods with a beard up in the sky. What they saw was the sun, and that is what we like to pray to. This is what we like to honor. Now, our realization has been completely lost because we have disconnected ourselves. We are living on this land and not with it. We have separated our own true nature from nature. Now we are on this path of remembering that part that is already in us. So it's not about learning something new, it's about realizing, wait a minute, you know, we need to take a couple of steps back to see what we could potentially learn from those who are more in harmony with laws of nature and the planet and the earth, and reestablish the connection with it. However, at the same time, we are also still dealing and realizing, well, like, wait a minute, where did things got messed up, where did things got out of balance, you know? And perhaps you could really go much further to the Asian civilizations living on this planet and how they were living with it, and where things got sidetracked. Now we are sidetracked very much indeed, and our role is really about reconnecting with the right kind of path that is in harmony and balance with our true nature, true authentic self. So we are looking at still like one part. We are living in this world with two legs, you know, especially when you are developing yourself spiritually, you're opening up your mind, your consciousness, you are getting in touch with your energy body, your light body, and you're into meditation, you're into transmissions. Perhaps you have already experienced maybe a couple of out-of-body experiences, so you have already moved beyond the veil of our material world. Now, if that is the case, you know, what's happening, you could even, although you don't really see yourself as a shaman, but you are kind of on a shamanic path or journey yourself, because you are opening up and building a bridge between the material and the non-material. So the most difficult part that I experience myself in my daily life, even trying to hold and maintain jobs, and even when I say, all right, having a job, you can climb a ladder, but then you're putting much more pressure on yourself. But actually you want to follow your heart and continue on this spiritual path, but then you realize, wait a minute, you know, I don't see myself as an healer, or I don't see myself as this or that or whatever, you know. So we have this whole personal identity ego crisis going on. Like, how do we actually see ourselves in this world in relationship to the world? So there might be a lot of fragmentation going on within our self-image. That's like one major thing. It is one of the biggest challenges that I see, that I'm dealing with. You're living in two different worlds. Number two, one world is still like, you know, you got to deal with responsibilities, and although you don't really want to, but you have to, every day you say, all right, I got to go and get up and spend 10-12 hours for bloody paying the bills, paying to make a bloody living at a place in an urban environment where I don't feel connected because I'm disconnected from the nature, from the lands, and I want to move out to nature, to lands. But when I move out to a village in the countryside, there are no bloody jobs there, so you can't make a living out there. So you're still like, still holding on to what we have called modern civilization, living in concrete jungles, but your heart is not into that. You can't ground yourself into that. You wanna basically sleep on the land and wake up when the sun rises and go to sleep when the sun goes down, and really feel alive and connected with the whole four elements, the four seasons of what it is that we are going through, and really listen and pay attention and feel what nature is going through and what it is that you are going through. Instead, we have separated from that, living in concrete environments. In order to live there, you got to go and have a job and have a career in order to pay for a place you don't really want to live. So there's a lot of conflict going on, inner conflict that we are experiencing, and we got to go and keep up with everything. Now, of course, there are modern ways where technology can help us to free ourselves from that, but then you go in the whole business endeavors and online entrepreneurship and social media marketing and all of that now, which is of course amazing. It's great, and it does indeed offers us many opportunities to connect with loads of amounts of people on a daily basis online from all over the places. But of course also that has a darker side, where sometimes it feels like we are working for artificial intelligence and the algorithms and trying to keep up with everything, and it puts another type of pressure. Well, actually we don't want that pressure. We want to live in harmony and balance with nature. So that's a third thing, you know, like, okay, so a job, a career, paying for a place in a concrete jungle where we are separated from the elements, but the next step, having your internet business and all of that. But although it offers many opportunities, it also comes with its own levels of stresses and conditions and expectations and anxieties that goes along with it. Then it's the whole program. First of all, like, wait a minute, we are opening up to the consciousness and the history of humanity and the planets and what we have been doing here, especially, you know, the toxic masculine energy of power, control, domination, manipulation, and all these fear-based programs, and where we have enslaved and slaughtered and raped other tribes, telling them they were nothing than just like maggots or animals or savages, in order for us to stand above them and take their authentic self away by gaslighting their truth of reality. And then you realize, like, wait a minute, you know, like everything that we currently have, and if you want to raise that pyramid scheme we are in, we call society, you have to still go along with these programs that has his root foundation in everything we have been doing so far. So then you bloody wonder, wait a minute, how do I deal with finding my way here on this planet, both materially and spiritually, without feeling ashamed and guilty of trying to maybe make a business or a career for myself and do well for myself, so I don't have to go along with the programs of scarcity consciousness. So as you can imagine, this is bringing a lot of conflicts within masculinity and spirituality. And I particularly touch on this because spirituality has been a little bit more perceived as something that is feminine, because you go within the intuition, you go into the sensitivity, you're opening up your sensitivity, and that's a program that is not familiar for the masculine. We got to be logic, rational, pragmatic, and all these things. We got to go and move forward, we got to go and move out, which is the opposite of spiritual development. So it is the whole dance we are trying to figure out. Well, we are still living as spiritual beings in a third dimensional plane that is very much indeed in conflict with himself, because loads of us, we want to open up to our true nature. We want to connect with nature while also still trying to balance everything in order to simply survive and move forward. And in our consciousness, we have already like a big vision for ourselves, like the way we are doing is not the way for us forward. So the solution. Masculine wants solutions. Problem, solution. What can I do? Simple. Easy? No. Simple. And the simple solution is simply doing what I'm currently doing. Go for long walks in nature. Rise when the sun is rising. Feel the cold. I see a little robin standing here in front of me. Perhaps you could listen to his little feathers just going around. You couldn't see it because I have zero time to turn my camera around, but I could just simply right now gaze at this little robin standing on his little branch. And that's it. The little robin has a spirit as well. Maybe he just came here to greet me and say, "Well done, your mate." And just simply perceive, stand still, take a step back. Simply take a step back in order to step up in consciousness. Take a rest, take a deep breath in. And breathe out deeper, further down into the body. Breathing out. And feel really how the legs are connected with the earth. Listen to the birds. Feel the warmth, the rays of the sun coming in on this early winter morning. Move around, get into the body. Feel, touch, sense, using the 5 basic senses in order to get to the 6th sense. And get all this stress and worry and overthinking out of your system. And move forward in any kind of creative or artistic form of self-expression. Writing, creating video. Finding a way of doing things that you value. Because the value that you have to give the things that you value. If you're trying to figure out, okay, so what are the demands of the world, and create a value in that, but you don't really value that, then what you're trying to do is you're stuck in the doing and not in the being. So bring balance and harmony between first being, what is it that you value? Getting out in nature, walking, camping, sleeping on the earth, on the floor, on a mountain, sailing, swimming, getting on the water, getting in touch with the wind, the waves. Feel what the water could do. For example, getting out in the forest. Observe how the light is coming in through the trees. Listen and feel what the energy of the trees has to say. Listen to the voices. These are one of the many practices and the connections our ancestors or indirect ancestors had, that we have suppressed, we have murdered that, but still it exists within the consciousness of this planet, of the earth, and it still exists within us. And if you have that longing within your heart, then that's a sign, that's the purpose for you to remember. Remember, that's what exists inside of you, and remember or reconnect that what has been forgotten, what has been suppressed. So let me know your thoughts. Can you relate? Is this something that sounds familiar to you, even if you're a woman still have some masculine energy within you? Are you seeing this in yourself? Please let me know. Simply drop a comment below. Alright, see you in the next one. Take care for now.